sometimes movies just don't know when to stop. There's a great movie buried somewhere in an immense running time. That is the case for today's entry, It Chapter 2. Now, if you've seen my It review, you'll know that this is the same exact cases as It Chapter 1. And I just include the two movies in it and the original miniseries. I just don't have the artwork for it yet. Oh, this was disappointing. I was so looking forward to It Chapter 2. It was up there with like Rise of Skywalker and Avengers Endgame as one of the movies that I was most anticipating. And in a way, it delivered, but it delivered way more than it should have. It Chapter 2 is 3 hours long. And the director's cut or whatever, the if they came out with it, like the cut of the movie that is better, should be 2. There is an hour's worth of crap that can be cut from this movie that we wouldn't miss. And I'll tell you exactly where that hour is. It's everything with the kids. Everything with the kids from It Chapter 1. Cut it. Get rid of it. It doesn't need to be there. There's no reason for it. We've seen the first movie. We've seen the kids. We don't need the kids anymore. Just like the first movie was the kids' story, and then they pushed the adults off to the second movie should have just been the adults. And instead, what we're shown with It Chapter 2 is a lot of scenes that are supposed to have fit into the first movie that don't make any sense as far as the continuity goes. The movie picks up 27 years after the original. The adult Losers Club are all grown up, and they are called back to Derry to once again battle it. With Skarsgård returning as Pennywise, and again being great. He's great in it. Actually, the adult Losers Club are great. Like, you could actually see, like, yeah, that actually looks like that the kid. Like, they did a really good matchup as far as like the adults look and act like they would be the kids. That stuff's all great. I loved all of it. It was fantastic. It was the sequel that I wanted. And then, and it's funny because they actually had to de-age the kids in order to have them come back. That's a lot of money and work for something that should not have been there in the first place. Or if there had been some sort of a plan, which I kind of feel like, having seen the movie, there wasn't, then you film all that stuff with the kids while you're filming Chapter 1. I'm going to give you the best example that I can think of, okay? There's a part in the movie that goes on and on forever. The adult losers have to go find their totems, some object from when they were kids, to help them reconnect and remember what happened to them. So you have scene after scene after scene of the adult Losers Club walking into a place, flashback, they find their totem, Something scary happens, they leave. It's very repetitive. But the problem is that all of these scenes are supposed to have taken place in the same time frame, which is after the kids have their falling out in the first movie and before they reunite. Okay, this little window of time that's more or less covered in a montage in the first movie, right? So what we come to discover is that while they're all separated, Pennywise is fucking with each of them individually. And in a lot of ways, it doesn't make any sense. The two that really stuck out to me, the character of Eddie, they show him going into the pharmacy to pick up some medications. The mean girl who wrote Loser on his cast is there to, fuck with him again. Okay, but he doesn't have Loser written on the cast yet. The cast is completely clean. That's not the scene. It's a different scene. So basically, in that short little time frame, he went back to the pharmacy twice. She sees his cast in what chronologically would be the first time and doesn't really make a comment about it. It's only in the second part, chronologically, which takes place in the first movie, where she acknowledges he has the cast and then writes Loser on it. The other scene is, and this is, I don't have a problem with this. They decided to make Richie gay. Okay, that's fine. There was no hint of that in the first movie. They not only decided to make Richie gay, they imply that Richie actually was in love with Eddie. Again, no hint of that in the first movie. So they retroactively have scenes, flashbacks in the second one to establish that. There's a scene where Richie is in an arcade. He's playing Street Fighter with a kid, and they're having fun, and the kid says he has to go, and Richie's like, well, hey, maybe one more game. The kid who I think they were trying to say is the kid who's also gay and who's a little bit scared that he's attracted to Richie. Turns out that he is the cousin of Henry Bauer, the bully in the movie. Henry Bauer comes out of the back with his little gang, and the cousin, freaked out, decides to be homophobic, and he starts saying, I didn't know you had a bunch of homos in the town, and, and Henry Bauer starts throwing gay slurs at Richie until Richie gets scared and runs off. But Henry Bauer is very kind of laid back about the whole thing. In the timeline of the movie, this happens after the rock fight. The last time Henry Bauer saw Richie Tozier, he was pegging him in the head with rocks. Henry should want to kill Richie. Henry should be out for blood at this point. And yet, chronologically, it goes from pegging him in the head with rocks and Henry wanting to kill him to casual gay slurs and letting him go. The movie is written and directed by Andy Muschietti, who did the first one. The first one was only 2 years ago. How they didn't think to figure out how this all fit together is beyond me, especially since rumor has it that they want to do a supercut to take It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2 and integrate them into and a bunch of deleted scenes and make like this 6-hour movie, like the miniseries was. I don't I would be interested in watching that version just to see if it makes any more sense than the version that we have. I'm assuming that they would do it like the miniseries and like the book, where there'd be the whole first movie would be flashback. As it is, the weight that the children's scenes bring to the movie drags it down for me and really slows it down. Slows down what was a really good movie. The cast is great. Like I said, Bill Hader especially is a standout. Um, they're all uniformly good in the movie. The movie takes it was never going to be as good as the first movie because that adult part of the novel and the adult part of the original miniseries were both the weaker part. So I feel like they knew that and they thought they could just rely on the kids. And unfortunately, this time they couldn't. I gave the first It 3 out of 5 stars. I'm going to give this one 2.5. I think the movie would have gotten 3 stars again if it had just been the adults. But I got to knock points off because of the kids being in it and the runtime that did not have to be that long. It's okay to edit your movies. Your movies don't always have to be 2.5, 3 hour plus epic films, especially if they're it. Just edit your movies, okay?